Okay, welcome to the Electronics Lab A601, and today I'm going to introduce to you a chip that is going to save you a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It is a SR latch chip, the CD4043. Usually, if you want to build a SR latch, you would use a NOR gate chip. Now, it's doable, but the wiring can get quite complicated. Yeah. So there is a simpler and quicker function. It is a CD4043, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what that's about, and I'm going to show how you wire it up, and hopefully you can use this in your coursework and save you a lot of time. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, welcome to this brief video about the SR latch chip CD4043. So usually you would use SR latch to retain certain memory functions, or if you want to debounce certain switches, and the textbook teaches you how to build your own SR latch using two NOR gates, right? But if you have gone through the practical, you'll find that it's actually quite troublesome to build your own SR latch. Now, the good thing is that there is already a chip that is made that has SR latch function, a flip-flop function. And this chip is the 404C. It is a CMOS. Now, that's going to be relevant next time when I tell you why I specifically mentioned CMOS. Quad 3-state SR latch. You'll be wondering, huh? You mean there's 3 states? I thought it's only a high, low. Well, this one has a 3-state function, okay? So let me give you a little bit of refresher on the truth table for an SR latch. If both inputs are 0, it remains at the previous output. If the reset is at 1, the output is 0, and if the set is at 1, the output will be 1. If both are high, that's not a very good state to have because you'll have an uncertain output. Okay, so these are the pin outs. You can actually get this diagram from Google. Just search 4043 datasheet and you'll be able to get this picture. Okay, so there are 4 input there are 4 SR latches in this one chip. Alright, so S1R1 corresponds to Q1, S2R2 corresponds to Q2, S3R3 corresponds to Q3, S4R4 corresponds to Q4. Alright, your VDD is your supply, and this chip can take between 5 to 15 volts. Usually we'll stick with 5 volts for our course. And VSS is your ground. Okay, so put this to your ground signal. Now EN is enable. Now we want to put this to VCC. Just put it to 5 volts, pin it to VCC, and what happens is that this guy will then work as your flip-flop SR latch. Okay, if you put it to 0 volts, you are actually disabling the SR function, which is not what we want. Okay, so just a couple of things to take note. The minimum high voltage it recognizes is 3.5 volts, and I'm talking about a 5 volt input. A minimum voltage that it recognizes as a high is 3.5, and the maximum that it recognizes as a low is 1.5 volts. The output that it gives is a very nice output, right? The minimum high output it gives is 4.95, so it gives a very close 5 volts, assuming that of course the VDD you're using is 5 volts, and maximum low is almost close to 0. It's a very nice output over here. Okay, so this is the introduction about the 4043, and I want to bring your attention back to the CMOS. What this means is that it's different from your TTL that you are used to, and just a couple of things to take note of. One, this one is very sensitive to static discharges. So when you touch it with your bare hands, and if you do have static charges on your fingers, it will discharge and it may spoil the chip. Yeah. Another thing to take note of is that if you are using this in series with a TTL chip, you have to take note of the V-in V-out max for both the input and output. Okay, so more on that later. So now let's see how this works. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to use S1, R1, and Q1. So don't forget your power supply, don't forget your ground. And what I've done is that I've placed the enable to a high, 5 volts. The yellow is your set, your blue is your reset, and your green is your output. Okay, so let's turn this on. Okay, so it seems like the first state we get is a high. So what we want to do is we want to reset it. So remember, blue is my reset, so I'll reset it to low and I'll bring it back down to 0, 0. So 0, 0, it remains at low. I'm going to put it to set 1. Set 1, output is 1. Okay, now I'm going to bring it down to 0, 0, and it will remain at the previous state. And it remains at high. So what I can do is I can bring it down to a reset 1, blue, reset 1, and it goes low. And I bring it down to 0, 0, it'll remain at low. Okay, so this is a brief introduction of how a 4043 chip works. You do have the option of 4 SR latches here, so it's going to save you a lot of space if you are using this as part of your coursework. Okay, and yeah, just take note of the notes that I gave you about using CMOS components, and you should be fine. Okay.